Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the Gemini full moon of 2019 for twin flames. This full moon occurs on, for those of you who are number geeks, get this, 12/12/2019 at 12:12 a.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. If you're elsewhere in the world, you'll need to translate this to your time zone. But for those of you who are into the numerology, that's a lot of 12s. And I thought you'd find that interesting. And if you are significantly interested in sharing your experience with the number 12 or what it represents for you, please do so in the comments. I'm sure others would love to hear about it. And this particular full moon comes with a very interesting conversational signature between it and a couple of other planets called an inconjunct. The inconjunction, or also known as the quincunx, is an energy where the two planets don't speak to one another at all. It's an energy of, that saying, oh, that's like apples and oranges. Apples and oranges are at least fruit. This is the energy of apples and trucks. This is the energy of trucks and computers. This is the energy of computers and grass. What the signs want that the moon sits in and that its only other planetary conversation sits in, what these two signs want and how they operate and the way they move are completely different things. Full moons tend to represent culminations, and with the full moon in Gemini, the sign of the twins, there is a cycle between twins at this moment in time that is now complete. It's been wrapping up for a while, but this particular full moon, let me just make a note of what I want to call this video. This particular full moon is saying that even though that cycle is complete, the story between the two of you is not over yet. And the way we know it's not over yet is the inconjunct conversation that the moon is not having but not having. It's so funny, astrologers decided to come up with a way to label a conversation that's not a conversation called an inconjunct. The conversation that's not a conversation that the moon is having is down here with Venus and Saturn at 19 and 20 degrees Capricorn. This is interesting because the energy of Gemini is all about communication and wanting to work things through via a conversation. It's about the mind being deeply engaged in the exploration of what's happened, what has occurred, wanting to take stock. Because it's a full moon, we're looking retrospectively at how we got to this moment in time. With Venus and Saturn in Capricorn, instead of a conversation that's verbal or a mental perspective on how we got here, Capricorn just wants to roll up its sleeves and get things done. Why are we still talking? There isn't a need for us to talk or think things through. Let's get to work. And so with Venus and Saturn being in Capricorn, this energy is more about figuring out what needs to be done at this time and doing it. Now, you get here how the talking things through and the getting of things done, they're not the same thing. In fact, if you really got your nose to the grindstone and you're super deeply entrenched in your work, as Capricorn loves to be, there's no room for talking. And if you're truly wanting to have a conversation that's authentic and real, the way Gemini likes to do, we shouldn't be working at the same time either. That's a distraction. So these two energies, they sit compartmentalized from one another. They sit in an energy of not really getting each other. And so you may find over the course of this full moon that there are certain aspects, either of your life or your connection with your twin or both, that aren't working well together at this moment in time. Certain things about the way work is unfolding or the way your money is unfolding are not working in alignment with the way you might want your twin relationship to unfold at this moment in time. Not to worry. This is only one piece of an ongoing story. Things are not over. And the reason we can say this, looking at this chart, is because in addition to this particular in conjunction energy, we also have Venus treading the path between Saturn and Pluto that Jupiter will tread in the months to come. This is interesting because Venus kind of acts like glue. She's the great attractor point in mundane astrology. She represents money, things that we value. And she also represents love and relationships. And so with Venus swinging between Saturn, which is separation, Saturn, which is, restoration of integrity via a separation, and then the divine masculine coming to sit in her place. We've got an energy going on where Venus is planting and sowing seeds around values, around love, around money, in between these two very difficult heavy hitters, Saturn and Pluto. Pluto's all about death and alchemy. With Venus sowing those seeds in advance of the divine masculine's traverse through those two locations, in the wake of the divine masculine's clarity that he got this year about the connection and what it means to him, you've almost got like this kind of like little glow light of love and truth and kind of pulling him forward through what will be some difficult moments in the next 90 days. So that's a really encouraging sign to see, that, the wisdom of the universe placed Venus on the path in front of Jupiter during this very rare conversation between Saturn and Pluto that we're about to have, and that is already in effect energetically the main signature we're going to be seeing vibrationally over this month, December and January of 2020. So with Jupiter joining the conversation in Capricorn, we now have the divine masculine in the sign of external world physical manifestation. We have the divine masculine in the sign looking to make the realization that he got during his retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, the sign of truth this year, looking to make those truths now real in the external world. So for some of you, this divine masculine is now in recognition of ways that he needs to bring his life into greater integrity and do the work to do so. Some of you have, I've spoken to you, you've told me your divine masculine has pulled back. You're now in some sort of stage of separation. But when you look, you can kind of see how that is appropriate and balanced given where he has been and where you have been. Either your divine masculine is actively seeking to, clean up a marriage, or the masculine energy in you is looking to do that and looking to do that in a way that is honorable and with integrity. Not having, the ending occur because, the divine feminine was involved, but having the ending occur because it was clear that, the relationship was no longer sustainable. and not wanting and caring enough as a divine being to not wound, the soulmate further by bringing the divine feminine into the situation. Others of you have seen your divine masculine perhaps pull back because, um, you know, they had gone too deep too quickly and they had found themselves out of balance with themselves. And now they need to figure out how to get into right relationship with self before they go any deeper with you. And so others of you have seen your divine masculine come forward in very significant ways, looking to make the connection a lot more concrete, spend more time with you, reach out more often. Because what was out of balance before was a level of separation that the connection didn't warrant. In all cases, what you are seeing is on the divine masculine side, a completion of the previous cycle in the external world. Whatever it was that wasn't quite in balance, he has heard the divine feminine soul call for balance. And he is taking the steps to create that in the way that his life path and his soul is showing him he needs to do. So just trust that whatever is happening right now, despite how either inconvenient it may be or how forced in, one direction or another your lives may seem, just trust that this is a process and that the process is not at an end point today, that this is going to be an ongoing unfoldment. Whatever cycle has completed, it is for the benefit and the integrity, the wholeness of your connection. Now, another interesting signature here is that the divine feminine has, once again, we got another 12. She's hanging out at 12 degrees Libra. Again, for those of you who are number geeks, I'd love to see in the comments what you got on the number 12. I'm sure other people would too. But her hanging out in Libra is bringing into the conversation, and I've talked about this in the Divine Feminine Energies of 2020 channeled video. There are other 2020 videos I have coming up, so keep your eyes on the channel for those. This is bringing the Divine Feminine into a conversation about balance within herself. Whatever it has been, whatever hasn't worked, you will see energetically within you, if you're a divine feminine listening, that you are finding much of this that hasn't worked is starting to dissipate. Either a clinging energy, a gripping energy is starting to dissolve as you start to recenter in yourself, or perhaps some level of absenteeism on your part, if you've been a divine feminine who's actively not been willing to look at the connection thoroughly. There is something in you that is now urging you, and probably quite urgently, to turn toward the connection, to, instead of turning away from it, to start looking at it and allowing this to flourish in whatever way that it's actually unfolding. So trust the process, whatever it is. Despite this inconjunct energy between Saturn and Venus and the moon, what we've got going on here is significant movement and change, because now both the divine masculine and the divine feminine are in the signs that they are going to remain in for the rest of 2020 until about December of 2020. So for those of you who have really listened out for communication windows from my channel, there isn't one for 2020. During 2020, we'll all have to go in and really listen to our intuition around when it's the right time to be in communication or not, because both of them are anchored in squaring signs, and square signs bring a lot of tension. They bring the energy of things, and a lot of, as my favorite astrologer mentor says, motivation. Nadia Shah, you can check out her channel. She's a brilliant astrologer. Um, Squares, those 90-degree angles, force us to work harder to make things unfold in the way that honors the truth of our soul, honors our soul path, honors what we feel we're destined for. Squares really force us to step into rolling up our sleeves and making things happen. And it's beautiful that they're both in squaring cardinal signs, because cardinal signs are all about taking initiative to make things happen. So 2020 is definitely, you're going to see 2020 be a year where many twins are going to move into this energy of willing to do their own work, clean up their own side of the street, um, toward creating a contribution to the union and a contribution to the world that is truly honoring of the way the love has initiated them. That may, let's see, I talked about how that could be in part a separation and how that separation may actually be an alignment. I talked about Venus walking the path that Jupiter is going to walk, essentially pulling Jupiter forward on a path of love. One of the other things that I love about this moment in time is that, except for Uranus, just about every other major, and Chiron, every other major player is moving direct at this moment in time. And that's the other reason why I know we can trust the process, that it's all unfolding exactly the way it should. With every major planetary player moving pretty much direct, except for Uranus and Chiron, what we've got going on here is an invitation to allow the planets to do their work, to work with the energies that are showing up in your life right now. So, for example, you may find that, here's an example that I've seen in sessions. You may find that, perhaps things were coming together with you and your twin, or things were moving in a really positive direction. But then a family emergency comes up, and you have to make the choice between being in service to family in one city and then being with your twin in a different city. That's really inconvenient. That's the energy of this full moon, that you find that, okay, the cycle where perhaps you had been in contribution to your twin connection, by constantly being available, is now done. You're stepping into a new cycle where your twin is now going to make themselves a contribution to the connection, while you stand in service of, family ties and family bonds. So that's the kind of thing where you feel like you're forced in this direction or another direction. Another example could be that, with, this kind of energy, you could see that you might be closing up a cycle at work. Like perhaps, you lose your job or your job contract ends, but it just happens to happen at a time when you were trying to move, and you had already given notice on your apartment, but now you have no income to solidify the final steps of that move into your new location. Well, geez, that's really inconvenient. There's a bit of that kind of energy in the air at this time, and those examples are things around, self and others, seventh house, first house, or examples around 10th house, fourth house, home or work and home. You may want to have a look at where this energy is playing out in your chart and what it means for you and your twins' connection. You can email me and we can set up a time. There's a few sessions left for the second half of December. About half of them are sold already. Email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com, KRYSALISMOON@gmail.com. And we can have a look at what these energies are asking you personally to do and what kind of choices you're being personally asked to make in order to get the most out of these energies as they move forward. Because there's definitely, you know, stalling on making the decisions. Not making any decision isn't really going to help. You do need to make some decision with this kind of energy. You just want to make one that's going to facilitate you creating the unfoldment that you've been looking for. And by looking at your natal planets and the transiting planets for both you and your twin and hearing your story, we can get to the root of what's going to really serve you best in the coming months. Now, the other interesting energy here that this chart is really showcasing is a grand or a trine between Neptune and Mars. I love this energy because the water sign energy of Mars specifically brings to it a deepened concentration and focus on the areas of the subconscious mind that may have been elusive within us to understand about ourselves. And so, under the light of this full moon, both twins get the opportunity to have a deeper look at why am I the way I am in this connection? Why have I shown up the way I have shown up? Why have I made the choices that I have made? And what is it that I actually want? Not what my ego wants, but what do I, from a soul level, actually desire going forward? This is what this full moon is bringing energetically or emotionally, I should say, because the water signs are emotions, to the conversation. This is a phenomenal time to get coaching, to get support, to deep dive on any of the family trauma stuff or the family stories that have bogged you down in terms of the way you look at relationships or look at yourself in relationships. This is a phenomenal time to get that support. I just want to quickly put in a plug here for two coaches that I know do this exceptionally well. Their names are Lee and Sherry. They are twin flames who are in union. You can find them on the YouTube at Lee and Sherry Twin Flames. You can find them on the internet at Relationship Reinvented. Their work, I have seen it multiple times in my sessions. Their work transforms. And this is what we're looking at here with Mars and Scorpio, transformation and the motivation to actually change. Their work can help you understand what's happening in a blind spot around the way you do connection that may actually be unintentionally keeping you and your twin in separation. Working with them can facilitate your ability to stand in the connection in such a way that energetically it shifts things for your twin, whether you two are in communication or not. I have seen it happen with my own eyes. So I can't say enough that if there was ever a time to get coaching, to transform the connection, to create a better container for the connection, despite what separation may be going on right now, because I definitely see one here in this chart with Venus and Saturn. Having a conversation with them will really deeply support your ability to take down the emotional blocks that are unintentionally sitting in between you and your twin. Now, they will, because you're on my channel, they will give you a free session, an introductory session, just so you can get a sense and a taste of what working with them is like and to help you kind of clarify what some of those blocks are. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you email them at info@relationshipreinvented. And just .com, and just tell them that K Moon sent you, that you're curious about an introductory session, because what I like about doing that work in the now time is that in 2020, every single planet is going to go retrograde, all of them. And having that foundation is what will keep you on your horse when everyone else is getting knocked off during these retrogrades, getting confused about why things are happening the way they're happening, and energetically throwing wrenches in between them and their twin. During all of these retrogrades during 2020, you won't have that same challenge. Mercury will retrograde 3 times, Venus will retrograde, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, and Juno, all of them are going to go retrograde in 2020. 2020 is going to be a significant year of transformation and change. I know a lot of people from a numerological perspective look at the 4 and they say, oh, it's going to be a year of stability. From an astrological perspective, it will not be that. The influences of the stars are showing change. They are not showing stabilization. They are showing a massive change that will come to stabilization later. But it's a year that ushers in the kind of transformation that can become stable in time, not stable now. And this is why you want to have support around you for cleaning up anything that you've been dragging around for the last decade, from family, stories you've told yourself about yourself, to really clarify how you can A, be present with the connection, and B, be present with yourself at the same time. And that's one of the tricky things about this inconjunct energy in this chart, is that it may make you feel like that's impossible. I can't be there for my kids and be there for me at the same time. I can't be there for my business and be there for my spouse at the same time. That is a story that, if you make the right choices during this full moon, can facilitate your ability to get the best outcomes and the best return in the 90 days ahead. So again, if you want to have a look at how those retrogrades will impact your 2020, if you want to have a conversation about this inconjunct energy, if you're torn in between 2 things and you're like, okay, I really need to make a choice, what's going to be the right choice? Email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com, and you'll be able to get one of the December sessions. There are just a few left, and we'll set up a time to look at how to roll this full moon, the Twin Flames full moon, into the right foundation for 2020. Okay. So if you're completing a cycle right now, try not to worry too much about it. It doesn't mean things are forever over. It just means that what is done, and there's a new chapter upon us, a significant new chapter, and that's an exciting, wonderful prospect. So thank you so much for watching. I very much look forward to seeing how all of this resonates for you in the comments and doing a reading for you. Please share this video with any twin who's in need of understanding and compassion for their journey. I thank you so much for doing that, and I look forward to sharing a very happy holiday with you. Take great care, everyone. Bye for now.